More than 4,000 years ago, on the plains of what is now Pakistan, people built a city that still surprises us today. There were no electric pumps, no modern construction machines, no computer-designed plans. Yet beneath its streets ran carefully constructed drains. Inside many homes were places for washing. Wells supplied water throughout the settlement. Thousands of bricks were made according to remarkably consistent proportions. And at the heart of the city stood one of the ancient world's most fascinating bathing structures. But perhaps the strangest thing about this city is not what its people built. It is what they did not leave behind. No clearly identified royal palace. No enormous tomb belonging to a famous king. No long written history explaining who ruled them. Instead, they left hundreds of mysterious symbols that, even today, no one can confidently read. This was Mohenjo Daro. Today, its streets are silent. The roofs are gone. Walls have collapsed. Dust moves through spaces that were once crowded with people. But imagine standing here roughly 4,500 years ago. The ruins rise around you. Walls rebuild. Roofs appear. Suddenly, the silence disappears. You hear footsteps on brick streets. Craftsmen strike stone and metal in small workshops. Merchants carry goods through narrow lanes. Ox-drawn carts move slowly between buildings. Smoke rises from homes. Children run past open doorways. Somewhere nearby, a rope drops into a well, and a vessel strikes the water below. Mohenjo Daro was part of the Indus Civilization, one of the great urban civilizations of the ancient world. But to understand what made this city remarkable, don't begin with its largest structure. Look beneath your feet. As you move through Mohenjo Daro, patterns begin to appear. Larger streets organize different areas of the city, while smaller lanes pass between houses and neighborhoods. The buildings themselves reveal something even more interesting. Again and again, builders used carefully made bricks with standardized proportions. Think about what that means. If craftsmen in different places follow similar standards, there must be shared knowledge. People must communicate. Builders must understand what others expect. A city like this cannot function through individual effort alone. It requires cooperation. But the greatest evidence of that organization was hidden along and beneath its streets. Inside many homes, residents had places where water could be used for washing. Once that water became dirty, it needed somewhere to go. So it was directed away from living areas. Brick drains carried wastewater from houses toward larger channels running along streets. Many of those drains were covered, and some appear to have been designed so accumulated material could be removed. This was not a modern sewer system, but the thinking behind it was surprisingly familiar. Thousands of years ago, the people of Mohenjo Daro were already confronting a problem every large city still faces today. How do you bring clean water close to thousands of people? And then remove dirty water from where they live? And that raises another question. Where was all this water coming from? Across Mohenjo Daro, archaeologists discovered an extraordinary number of wells. Circular walls of carefully arranged brick descended into the ground toward water below. A resident could lower a container, fill it, and pull it upward. Water was not something separate from the city. It was built into urban life. Homes, wells, drains, washing spaces. But then there is the structure that made Mohenjo Daro famous, a large brick-lined pool, with stairs descending into it from opposite ends. Today, we call it the Great Bath. Its builders went to considerable effort to construct a basin capable of holding water and controlling its movement. Exactly what happened here remains uncertain. Perhaps it was used for communal bathing. Perhaps water had ritual significance. Perhaps it served functions we still don't fully understand. And that uncertainty leads to an even larger mystery. A city capable of organizing streets, wells, drainage, and major public construction must have had some form of authority. Someone had to coordinate parts of this system. So where are the rulers? When we look at ancient Egypt, its rulers are almost impossible to miss. Pharaohs built monumental structures and placed their names across temples and tombs. In Mesopotamia, kings recorded battles, victories, and achievements. Mohenjo Daro gives us a very different picture. Archaeologists have not identified the kind of unmistakable giant royal palace or massive royal tomb that dominates several other ancient civilizations. That does not mean there were no leaders, but it does mean we still don't clearly understand how political power worked here. Fortunately, the Indus people left writing. Unfortunately, we cannot read it. Across sites belonging to the Indus civilization, archaeologists have discovered small seals and objects covered with short sequences of symbols. Animals appear beside strange signs. Some symbols look simple. Others are difficult to interpret. Together they form what we call the Indus script. For generations, researchers have tried to understand it. But there is still no generally accepted decipherment. And that silence changes everything. We can walk through their streets. We can examine their bricks. We can study their jewelry. We can follow the path of water through their drains. But we cannot open a text and read the words of a merchant, official, priest or ruler from Mohenjo Daro. We can see their civilization, but we cannot hear their written voices. What we can see, however, is that this city was not isolated. The wider Indus civilization produced finely crafted beads, pottery, seals, and other goods. Its people participated in trade networks reaching far beyond individual cities. Connections existed with distant regions, including Mesopotamia. Imagine merchants preparing goods for a journey, craftsmen shaping beads, containers being filled, carts leaving the city, boats moving along waterways, objects passing from one community to another across hundreds, even thousands of kilometers. Mohenjo Daro belonged to a much larger world. Its people possessed skilled craftsmanship, standardized systems, urban organization, and long-distance connections. And then, after centuries of city life, that world began to change. For a long time, people wanted a single dramatic explanation for what happened. An invasion, a catastrophic flood, one terrible event that destroyed everything. But the real story appears to have been more complicated. Environmental conditions changed. River systems shifted across parts of the wider region. Flooding repeatedly affected Mohenjo Daro. Patterns of trade changed. Major urban centers of the Indus civilization gradually declined, while populations moved, reorganized, and settled in different places. This was not necessarily a civilization disappearing in one mysterious night. It was something slower, a world transforming generation by generation. Imagine the city becoming quieter. A workshop closes, a family leaves, a house is no longer repaired. A street once filled with merchants becomes less crowded. A well is used less often. Another building is abandoned. Years pass. Then decades. Eventually the drains stop carrying water. Dust settles inside empty rooms. Walls begin collapsing. And one of the great cities of the ancient world slowly disappears beneath the earth. So, was Mohenjo Daro really too advanced for its time? Not because its people possessed impossible technology. Not because they knew some futuristic secret that history later forgot. The truth is far more interesting. They understood the problems of their own world extraordinarily well. They standardized construction. They managed water. They built extensive drainage. They supported skilled craftspeople. They connected distant communities through trade. And they created one of the ancient world's great urban centers using the tools and knowledge available thousands of years ago. Their achievement does not need a conspiracy to make it extraordinary. Today we call the city Mohenjo Daro, but we don't even know with certainty what its own inhabitants called it. Their wells remain. Their streets remain. Their drains remain. Their seals remain, but the people themselves left behind no history that we can yet read. Perhaps somewhere among those tiny symbols are names. Perhaps accounts of trade. Perhaps beliefs. Perhaps descriptions of rulers. Perhaps even the name of the city itself. For now, we simply don't know. And until the Indus script finally speaks, one of the world's earliest great urban civilizations will continue to stare back at us through more than 4,000 years of silence. The city survived. Its voice did not.